Coming up on this edition of The Center of It All, we check out some of Mel's best kitchen and counter Italian recipes. Hello and welcome to The Center of It All. With a last name like Prosciutti, good Italian recipes run in the family. And Mel being the chef of her family, you know she's cooking up good Italian food in this kitchen. She's got a recipe for an American Italian classic, spaghetti and meatballs.
When I was growing up, my dad made spaghetti and meatballs every Tuesday night for dinner. My brother and I would jump off of the school bus and race to the front door. Today, I'm going to show you how to make the #1 Italian-American dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, along with my recipe for marinara sauce. Let's get started. Marinara sauce is an Italian tomato-based sauce that originated in Naples. Southern Italy is known for its glorious temperatures, fresh fruits, vegetables, herbs, and seafood. Marinara sauce is known as the simple sauce because that's what it is. A little bit of EVOO, onions, garlic, some fresh tomatoes, and a splash of red wine is really all you need. Occasionally, though, you'll run into a marinara sauce recipe that's actually cooked with seafood in it because seafood is so predominant in Naples. What you won't find is marinara sauce made with meat, which makes it the perfect sauce for restaurants and home cooks to serve to vegetarians. I've put about 6 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of a wide bottom skillet. And you really want this to be a wide bottom skillet because what you want when the marinara sauce cooks, you want it to reduce and thicken, and the best method for doing that is putting it in a wide, shallow pan. And I'm just going to add about 1 pound of chopped onions. If you want them finely diced, that's your business. I'm going to add about an ounce and a half of garlic because my family likes it made with garlic. I'm going to add some white pepper, some red pepper, some sea salt, and some sugar. Stir this all together. I like to add my seasonings first to the onions and garlic because that's going to start the basis for seasoning the entire sauce. And I'm just going to let these saute over medium-high heat for about 8 to 10 minutes until the onion is softened and just short of beginning to brown. My onions are softened, my garlic is softened, and nothing has started to brown. And you really want to avoid letting your garlic brown because that will make it bitter. I'm going to glaze the pan with a cup of my favorite red wine. Get up any little bits that are at the bottom of the pan. And red wine is kind of a must in a marinara sauce. Now I'm going to add 4 cans of my favorite brand of crushed tomatoes. You can use whole crushed San Marzanos if you can find them, or in the summertime you can peel and crush your own tomatoes to make marinara sauce. But it's February. This is the rest of 3 other cans. And lastly, I'm going to put about 2 ounces of basil chiffonade over the top. And chiffonade is just a fancy word for cut into little raggy pieces. I'm going to stir it all together, bring it to a nice gentle simmer, and let it continue to cook uncovered for about an hour to an hour and a half until it's all thickened and reduced by just a little bit. And now it's time to make our meatballs. For my meat mixture, I have 2 pounds of ground sirloin and 2 pounds of ground pork tenderloin in a nice big bowl with about 1 large diced onion and 3 or 4 minced garlic cloves. What I've done in my food processor is I've chopped about 1½ sleeves of saltine crackers. I've processed them to crumbs. You can skip this step completely and use already dried breadcrumbs, but I happen to really like the flavor of saltine cracker crumbs just a little bit better. And now what I'm going to add to the work bowl of my food processor are 4 eggs, and any size egg will be okay with this recipe. 1 cup of milk, and my spices are black pepper, Italian seasoning blend, and a little bit of salt. I'm going to put the lid back on this, and we're just going to pulse this to form a nice thick paste. This takes about 10 seconds. Take the lid back off, and now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of Parmigiano Reggiano. The real deal, folks, not the stuff in the can with the green lid. Let's get this lid back on the food processor. Come on now. Okay. Process this again, about 5 more seconds. And we've got a really thick paste. Okay. You want to carefully remove the blade from the food processor. This is very sharp. And we're going to add our saltine cracker cheese mixture to our meat mixture. I want to get every yummy, oh, this smells wonderful, the Parmesan cheese. Oh, if the eggs weren't raw, I could eat this myself just the way it is. Now I'm going to do my best to kind of give this a rough stir to incorporate all the ingredients together. Spatula helps, I think, at the best, the beginning of it, and then eventually the best thing is just to put your impeccably clean hands into it and toss it all around. As soon as I get this thoroughly mixed, I'm going to cover the bowl with plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to let all of these wonderful flavors marry. My meatballs are out of the refrigerator, and what I'm using is a 1 3/4 inch ice cream scoop to roughly form them into balls. The next step to meatball making is an optional step, but it is an old and authentic Italian one. What the ladies used to do is they'd take these little meatballs and roll them around in some breadcrumbs to give them a coating. What this is going to do when they hit the pan is it's going to give them a little bit of a crust, and it's going to make them golden brown on the outside and moist and juicy on the inside. I've heated a little less than 1/4 inch of oil in the bottom of my electric skillet to 350 degrees. I'm using corn oil today. Feel free to use canola oil, but don't assume that because this is Italian food, you should be cooking with EVOO. The smoke point on that is just all wrong, and your meatballs will burn. So stick to something like corn, canola, or even vegetable oil. All I'm going to do is add all of my meatballs to the pan. And when they're all in, they're going to cook about 3 to 3.5 minutes till they're brown on the bottom. And then I'm going to flip them over and cook them for another 3 to 3.5 minutes. They'll come out, go on a rack in a pan, and they'll be ready to add to our simmering sauce. The meatballs are fried, and I'm just going to drop each one in to the sauce. I'm going to partially cover this pan when I'm done, and I'm going to let them simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes and as long as 20 to 30. And then it's time to eat. Italian immigrants brought their recipes for pasta sauce and meatballs with them to America. In Italian households, Italians never served meatballs with pasta. The meatballs were a course, and the pasta was a course. Spaghetti and meatballs came about in Italian-American restaurants because the chefs needed to please American diners who wanted meat with their pasta. For these and all of my recipes, just go to my website.
Mel's husband Joe wouldn't expect anything less out of her kitchen. When we come back, she's cooking up baked ziti. Welcome back. If you're a fan of Italian cuisine, skip the pizza place and check out Mel's recipe for baked ziti.
Do you have a favorite casserole recipe? You know the one your family loves, the one you take to a potluck, the one you donate to a good cause, the one you give to a friend in need. Well, when I got that question this week on Kitchen Encounters, I immediately decided what I was making on WHVL TV today. Join me right here at the stovetop while I make my baked ziti sausage and 3-cheese casserole. Let's get started. I've heated 4 tablespoons of olive oil in a nice big skillet. This is a 12-inch skillet because everything's going to have to cook in here for a good 30 minutes. And I'm going to put my sausage. Now I'm using hot sausage. You can use mild sausage. You can use sweet sausage. It's still in its casings, and what I've done is coined it. So I've taken the links and I've cut them into little coins. And that's the culinary term for cutting anything that's cylindrical into a coin shape. And I'm just going to add 2 pounds of hot sausage. It's a little stuck together in here, but it's going to come apart really easy when it starts to cook. In this skillet, and I'm going to let this brown, and that's probably going to take me about 9 to 10 minutes. So let's just be patient with this and get it cooking. These have been sauteing about 9 minutes, maybe 10, and they're getting to be a nice golden brown. And what I really like about coining the sausages, they turn out to be like little brown meatballs, and that really is, that's lots of tasty goodness in the casserole. Slowly going to add classic Italian, about a cup of Chianti, which is a really nice red wine. Give that a quick stir. Now I'm going to add 6 cups of marinara sauce, and I thawed these 2 containers out. I make my homemade marinara from my garden tomatoes, and it's full of onions and garlic and fresh basil. It's really, really tasty. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to call the food police if you add a bottle or 2 of high-quality store-bought marinara sauce. There's some really good brands out there these days. Okay, so that's 3 cups. This is 6 cups. Now we've got this simmering, and I'm going to keep this cooking. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit as soon as I get this to a nice steady simmer. And then I'm going to let this cook for about 25 or 30 minutes until it's kind of reduced and nice and thick. It's been just about 30 minutes, and this sauce is simmering, and it smells wonderful in here. And look at how just beautiful. It's thickened, it's rich. Oh my goodness, just fantastic. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the heat off, and I'm just going to put this to the back of the stove, and I'm going to fill my pot with water, and I'm going to boil that and get my pasta ready. I've got 5 quarts of water coming to a rolling boil with a tablespoon of salt, and I'm going to cook my pasta. I'm using ziti because ziti is classic in this dish. In an Italian household, if you say we're having baked ziti for dinner, everybody knows what you're getting. That said, rigatoni or penne works great. You really want to do tubes so that when the sauce gets stirred in, it kind of can get into all those little nooks and crannies. I'm just going to add all this. I'm going to give it a quick stir, and I'm going to let this boil for about 9 or 10 minutes. Not the full 11 or 12, because you have to remember, this is going to bake a second time when it goes in the oven, so we don't want it to get mushy. I've cooked and drained my pasta, no rinsing. It's steaming hot, and I'm adding it right back to the hot stock pot. And I'm going to, right away, I've cubed some butter. That's about 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to add that. And I'm going to stir this, and I'm going to keep stirring until all of that butter is melted. Just about. It goes really fast. Really, really fast. Pasta's all coated. And now, and this is going to get a little tricky, I'm going to start scooping and stirring all of my sauce into the pasta. I'm going to give this one last stir. Then I'm going to take it over to the counter. We're going to assemble the casserole, and we're going to bake the casserole. I've put all of my casserole mixture into a casserole dish that's been sprayed with no-stick cooking spray. All that's left to do is I'm going to top it with some grated cheese, and I'm using a blend of grated mozzarella and grated provolone. You can grate these yourself by hand, or you can just buy an 8 or a 12-ounce bag of pre-grated store-bought mozzarella and provolone cheese, the same kind you put on pizzas. And I'm going to top this. I've got 12 ounces in here, and it's up to you. You could stop even at 6 ounces if you don't like a lot of cheese. A little bit more. Spread that out. Now I've got a ½ cup of Parmigiano Reggiano. This I did grate by hand using my microplane grater. Not that store-bought stuff that comes in the plastic container with the green lid that everybody makes jokes about. Don't do it. So that's our 3 cheeses. Now I'm using some dried Mediterranean oregano. Feel free to use dried basil or even an Italian seasoning blend. Give it a nice little herby top. And just because my family likes it, I'm grinding some red pepper flakes over the top. And yes, you can put your red pepper flakes into a pepper grinder. It works fantastic. I'm going to lightly cover this with foil, put it into a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. Then I'm going to uncover it for 5 to 10, and it's time to eat. When it comes to making a great casserole, allow me to say this. While a casserole made with a melange of last week's leftovers and stirred together with a can of soup can come out kind of tasty, don't expect accolades. A casserole should be a cross between a fine dining experience and a really superb casual get-together. Make someone's day. Make a great casserole. For these and all of my recipes, just go to my website.
When we come back, we sit down with Mel for a one-on-one. Welcome back to the center of it all. The cooking is finished and it's finally time for my favorite part of the day, hanging out with Mel. Now Mel, what is your favorite Italian meal?
Oh, my favorite Italian meal would be ossobuco or bolognese.
What is ossobuco?
Ossobuco are veal shanks braised in a lovely sauce.
Sounds delicious.
It is.
And if you could eat one thing for the rest of your life, or if it's your final meal, what would that be?
Well, since I believe I was a sandwich in a past life, I think I'd probably be an Italian sub.
Those are good.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is one of the most elaborate kitchens I've ever been in. No offense, you know, hopefully you take that as a compliment.
None taken.
What is your favorite appliance to use in this kitchen?
Oh, I couldn't exist without my food processors, and I say that plural. They are the biggest time saver to a cook, even if she doesn't work. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but the food processor is just the best invention since sliced white bread.
I'll have to get me one of those.
You're going to need one.
Definitely. And what got you into cooking in the first place?
Okay, that's a sentimental answer, and everybody says my grandmother, but my grandmother really did teach me how to cook. I was 5 years old and my mom became really deathly ill, and she was in the hospital for an extended period of time, 6-8 weeks. My dad decided to take me out of kindergarten so I could spend the days with my grandmother instead of going back and forth to school. And she owned a grocery store, and her hands were always in food, and she would hand me dough when she was baking bread and teach me how to bake little rolls of bread. And when she was making pies, she would give me this little pie tin, and I had to make my own apple pie. And she wouldn't let me ruin anything either. She made me eat what I cooked. And that really just got me started.
Great. And to someone who thinks that they just can't cook, what is your advice to them?
If you can read, you can cook. And since Mel can cook, so can you. And I suggest that you get yourself a good book with a lot of pictures and step-by-step directions, or read Kitchen Encounters. Read my blog.
Definitely, kitchenencounters.typepad.com, correct?
You got it.
All right, well that's all for this edition of The Center of It All, and I think it's time to eat some of this pasta.
I do too, Sarah. I'm starving. Let's go.